Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Mackrig, and I am your hostess with the mostest this evening. Just welcoming you to our Saturday Night Inspiration Series, and our featured guest this evening is Ms. Jenna Jemieff. So let's give a round of applause to Jenna. Woohoo! So just to kind of give you the lowdown of what's happening tonight, it's super duper casual. There's really no formality, but we are kind of sticking to an agenda. So what I'm going to do is talk about Jenna a little bit and introduce her with a little bio. Then we're going to ask her a few questions and then show you a little video that we put together of some of the pictures and some of the snippets of her routines that she's done over the years. Do a couple of rapid fire questions to learn a little bit more about Jenna, about things that we might not know about her. And then we're going to open it up to the audience to ask her some questions. So yes, welcome, Jenna. How are you doing?
So good to see everyone, and thank you to Manitoba Baton for inviting me. It's nice to connect this way and see some familiar faces.
Oh, we're so delighted. It's our honor to have you in the hot seat tonight. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about you, Jenna. So Jenna began her dance career at the age of 3. She trained in ballet under the RAD syllabus and in jazz and tap under the ADAPT syllabus, where she successfully participated in numerous exams. She also is trained in musical theater, lyrical, contemporary, tap, and competed in many competitions individually and collectively across North America. Jenna has attended workshops and classes in Las Vegas, Vancouver, Sydney, Los Angeles, and New York, to name a few. She's a 6-time national freestyle champion in the sport of baton twirling and has competed at 9 World Baton Twirling Championships across the globe. In 2007, she won the bronze medal in the pairs division at the World Baton Twirling Championships. She has a degree in kinesiology from the University of Calgary. She is also the owner and director of Inspire Dance Studio and Inspire Baton Club based out of Olds, Alberta. She is ADAPT, acrobatic, and acrobatic arts certified. She is also certified in CBTF and WBTF Master Judge, and she also has had the honor of judging at 5 World Championships across the world. So without further ado, welcome Jenna. Yay! The crowd goes wild. All right, Jenna, let's start with the questions. Where are you from, and tell us about what you were like as a kid.
Yeah, so I'm a small town Alberta girl. I was raised originally in Stettler, Alberta, which is about 45 minutes away from Red Deer, and lived there up until I was in grade 10. And then my family and myself, we moved to Olds, which is just about an hour north of Calgary. So definitely a small town girl at heart. Have always loved living in small towns, but have been really fortunate that had parents that drove me into the city for my training when it came to baton and dance. So I always said growing up, I had the best of both worlds. I got to live the small town life, but I got the benefits of being able to go into the city and to train at those facilities that were required for baton twirling and dance at those competitive studios in the city. But it was always so nice just to have that time growing up in a small town, going to school, and just being really connected to the community. And that's really why I chose to move back to a small town. It's a bit slower pace and just really can enjoy the community and the people and really create close connections. And for me, living in a small town, I really want to be able to provide opportunities to my students that my parents had to travel an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for me to be able to have. So yeah, pretty crazy that, my parents really were willing to drive me all over, but they were in agriculture and my mom worked at a vet clinic. So, for their careers, it was better for them to be in smaller communities. And I really enjoyed the small town life growing up.
Amazing. Cool. You're a small town girl. When and why did you pick baton as your sport?
So basically, I was crazy as a child, and any activity that my mom could sign me up for at 4 years old, she was sold. So I started doing dance when I think I was about 3, and actually Miss Loren was my first dance teacher. And the next year I signed up for baton, and to my surprise, Miss Loren was actually my baton coach my first year of baton, which is super special and super cool that she's been my coach literally since day one. So I was born in Red Deer, moved to Stettler when I was about 4 or 5, and my mom wanted a chance to go to the city once a week, do some grocery shopping, all those things that you go to a larger city for. And once a week turned into, 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week, and then 5 days a week. And so that was pretty crazy. And I also did gymnastics as well when I was younger. My mom actually is from Portage la Prairie. So
no way.
Yeah, there's a Manitoba connection there. So I think it was maybe in Winnipeg when she was growing up, she saw actually a baton twirler in a parade. And she just thought that was really special, and she had never seen it before. So I think she might have come across something in the paper with baton and remembered that moment, seeing a baton twirler in a parade. So that's when she decided to sign me up.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Loren Dermody, who's on as one of our guests or in the audience this evening. So we all love Loren. Yay, Loren. So yay. Okay. So while you were growing up and doing baton, who were your supporters?
Well, for sure, my parents. My parents were absolutely crazy to believe in me at such a young age. They drove me everywhere. So we used to dance in Red Deer and train in baton in Red Deer. So we drove an hour one way, to attend class. So it was an hour there, an hour back. And then Loren eventually moved to Calgary. So we were driving like 3 hours one way on the weekends to train with Miss Loren in Calgary, which was pretty crazy. And, through COVID, we went through a lot of family home videos, and you might see a clip of a video that I sent to Kristen tonight, but, just looking back and, imagining what my parents must have been thinking, like, really, they saw potential in that. They were really willing to invest, so much time and money and energy into, this little Spitfire kid who was kind of wild and all over the place. And so I think that's really special. And I always thank my parents for really teaching me that, I can do anything, be anything, and achieve anything if I worked hard enough. And they've always had my back since day one. And I think that's really special that, I'll always have them, and knowing what they sacrificed in order to give me the opportunities that I had. I'm sure, like many baton moms and baton dads, working second jobs and, sacrificing what they had just so that, I could have the private lessons, I could, do the extra trips for dance and baton. And that just really means so much to me, especially as I'm getting older, is really, just, wow, I can't believe some of the things that they did. And obviously Miss Loren too, I mean, a huge supporter of mine. Like I said, again, just her having the patience with me and, seeing potential in me and, really pushing me and challenging me. I just think that there's no way I would have been the twirler I was if it was not for her. And even now as a coach, thinking of, it's hard spending all that time in the gym with your athletes and keeping them motivated and keeping them on track. And I just think I'm so fortunate that, I had her as a coach from day one because, just so special. And I was also really fortunate that when I was with Red Deer Baton Club, Michelle Smith, she was twirling with Loren at that time, Holly Nielsen, Chelsea Bissonette, Sheila Bissonette. So it was really cool that I had those older girls to look up to and had them supporting me and their moms supporting me. So a really special time to be involved in baton for sure.
Very cool. And that goes back to a quote that I'll go back to. I said it a couple times already, that Lucinda says, success breeds success. When you're around other really motivated people, it just rubs off on you. So that's great that you had them. But as an athlete, you trained alone for quite some time, right? Yeah. Tell us about how it was when you trained alone and some of the things you would do for yourself to motivate yourself.
Yeah, so basically through the week, I trained on my own, and then on the weekends, we would go and train with Miss Loren. I was really fortunate that growing up in a small community, my school was very supportive of me. So I actually got to train in my school gym for free, I think, for the most part. And my mom spent a lot of time in the gym with me. We would play a lot of games with each other. There was a vending machine, so she would get Jolly Ranchers for me, and it was like, okay, if you catch these 10 tricks, you get one red Jolly Rancher. You know, if you catch 20 of this trick, you get one yellow Jolly Rancher. So we always kind of joke about that because, you know, it really wasn't much, but I guess I've always been motivated by food, even at a young age. So just, I think playing little games with each other was a huge help. And we loved music. So my mom and I would, you know, back then bring our CD player and, you know, pop in our favorite CDs. And I think that was a really special time that we had together. So, you know, I feel really fortunate that my mom was willing to spend those hours with me in the gym. And she learned a lot along the way. And, you know, she was able to kind of correct my, you know, chicken wing, as she liked to call it, in my back neck rolls, and, you know, other things that we kind of laugh and joke about now. So, but, you know, it was really tough. And, you know, being in a small community, I didn't have any other twirlers around me. I was fortunate that I had some, you know, twirlers when I was involved with Red Deer Baton Club. And then later on, I moved to Nandy's Club, which was Star Baton and Dance Company. And that was really special too, because when I moved to the club, there was some girls that were around my age, and got to train with them on the weekends. And that was really big, just to have that connection with other twirlers my age, and really helped me in the gym, just having another person to talk to, or, you know, complain to, or, you know, someone else to get excited about something. And, you know, I really appreciate the time that I had in the gym with my mom, and, but also was appreciative when, you know, I finally had a chance to, you know, twirl with some of the kids that were my own age as well.
For sure. Alicia said, yeah, shout out to bribery food. I was a total bribery food
Oh,
too.
totally.
Person too. Gummy bears, Twizzlers, nibs, corn nuts, you name it.
Miss
Yeah.
Lauren used to do little Slurpee coupons for us.
Yeah.
That was always a big motivator, except for I remember I'd always like save mine. I was such a saver as a kid, like, oh, I'm going to save all of mine for a really hot day. And really redeemed very many of them, but we were always so excited to get them.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Okay, so what are some of your best memories as an athlete?
So my best memories are probably from attending the World Championships. So my favorite memory was my first Worlds. It was in 2003 in Spain. I was 12 years old, had never been out of Canada before, was my first international trip, and my parents couldn't afford to go. So they sent me with Miss Loren, and Michelle was competing at that Worlds as well. So being from a small town, I had never really experienced what it was like to be in a big city, let alone a big city in Europe. So we took the subway or the metro to finals to watch because we weren't competing. So we didn't take the early bus. So I was all excited. We were really rushed. We were running down the stairs to catch the metro. I jump on, I turn around, the doors close behind me. I'm staring at everyone else on the other side of the doors. So I'm 12 years old, stuck on the train in Spain by myself. I maybe have 20 euros in my pocket, no cell phone in 2003, no credit card, small town, don't even know really how like the metro really works or anything at all or what to do. So I just remember being terrified. I'm this little kid in this, I think, Team Canada tracksuit, like didn't know what to do. So anyways, for whatever reason, I thought to get off at the next stop, and I jump off, and I just remember sitting, on the bench and just looking at everyone in the train and just waiting and hoping to see someone that I knew. And I think about, 10 or 15 minutes later, the next train came and everyone was on there. But I just remember everyone telling me, like, don't tell your mom, like, whatever you do, like, don't tell your mom. literally the first thing I do when I get home is, hey mom, guess what? They lost me on the metro, So that was a pretty funny story. And we also got stuck in the Toronto blackout as well, coming back from Spain. So that was an experience in itself, being in the Toronto airport with no power. And I remember I didn't cry the whole trip. And Miss Lauren was like, don't start crying now. Like, keep it together. Like, no tears. You haven't cried once this trip. Like, let's keep it that way. So that was kind of funny. My other favorite story was the first time I made the top 6 in freestyle as a junior in 2006. Personally, I had a really difficult year, and the year before I was 7th. So I just missed it by 1 spot, making that top 6. So, to have a really difficult year personally, and then to be able to achieve a goal like that after, just missing out by 1 spot the year before was, I think, really empowering and a really good lesson for me, knowing that, if you put in the hard work and believe in yourself and don't give up, and, you really can achieve your goals. So that was a really special moment too, just that first, accomplishment of not achieving it at first, but, not giving up on it, and, coming back and challenging myself to make it the next year.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Leisha and I had the pleasure of coaching Jenna for 1 year on our Trans Canada team. And I have to say, I've known you for several years. We've gone to a few world championships together, and now you're the successful studio owner, and you sit on the board of directors. You are a judge. Through that all, you have been the most humble and kind woman that I know. And I think that's really, really admirable, because I think, for some people that may get to their heads, but you've always been very, very level-headed, and we applaud you for that. So yeah. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. So yeah, you are a studio owner, a coach, a judge, CBTF board member, former athlete. And so tell us, how do you maintain your sanity and balance in your life when you are wearing all of these hats?
Yeah, that's definitely been difficult to navigate. And I think I'm learning more about how to navigate the different roles as I'm getting older. I think that over the years, I've just learned that if something's important to you, you will make it a priority. So Baton has always been such a big part of my life. And I realized that I would not have had the experiences I had growing up if it were not for Baton. And it has a really special place in my heart. So for me, it's just so important to give back in any capacity that I can, whether it's coaching and inspiring my young athletes and giving them a chance to travel and see the world and compete, or, judging and supporting our athletes in that way, or being on the board. I've had so many opportunities to judge overseas, and, I'm so appreciative of that. And I want to give back to our athletes, and I want to give back to CBTF, because it is a privilege to go on those trips and to have those experiences. And to me, it's just so important to be a part of our organization and the future. Growing up, I used to hear, not growing up, but when I was younger and I first started joining, the board and started judging, and, people would always say, it's same people, and, nothing's really changing. And so for me, it's just really important that I try and create some change and try to inspire some evolution within our sport and whatever that role may be. So, I think we all feel overwhelmed at times, and maybe that we've taken on too much, but I try and just really daily decide, okay, what needs to get done today? What am I doing today that needs to be accomplished, and kind of look at it that way, versus being overwhelmed by all the looming deadlines that are coming up, or meetings that I might have. And I'm just really lucky that I have a really supportive partner and really supportive family. They understand when I have meetings or extra practices, or when I'm away judging, or, when I'm in my pajama bottoms and my black blazer judging from home.
I know that all too well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so when things get stressful or busy for you, what and who do you turn to for help?
Yeah, I think, again, through this pandemic, that's been something that I've struggled with. And it's really tricky. You find out more and more about yourself. I think the more time you spend alone, too. I think I was so used to just go, 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 and, having all these big events and trips and, seeing my friends, all these things to look forward to. So when all of that got taken away, I just really didn't know what to do with myself. So I really tried to focus on, what can I do daily that's going to bring joy in my life, whether that's taking my dog out for a walk or, exercising, or I've really gotten into listening to podcasts, which I've really enjoyed the acrobatic arts podcast that Miss Loren has been doing. So if you haven't checked it out, you guys should, because it's really great. So those things have all really helped me, as well as just kind of remembering why I chose the career path I did, as that's been really hard navigating through the pandemic as well. And I want to be there for my students. But in order to be there for my students, I have to take care of myself too. And that's been a really big realization. So, really important for me to stay healthy, my mental health and my physical health. So those are two big things that I've really been focusing on. And again, just a really supportive partner, Braden. We've been together for almost 11 years now. So, I mean, he's just a total rock star in supporting, everything and anything that I do. And he's a really great shoulder to lean on as well. So I'm really fortunate to have him.
That's awesome. I'm glad that we have him. And congratulations to you too. You guys got engaged a couple years ago. So yeah, that's very, very exciting. So when you were transitioning to become a judge, what were some of your challenges and some of the good things that you've experienced?
Yeah, I think originally the biggest challenge was just getting certified. At that time, there weren't really a lot of courses available in my area. So we hired Wendy, and Mandy and myself, I think, did maybe our M2 and our M3 together. And I actually had to fly to Ontario to do my master's as well. So it's, a blessing now that everything is moving online for the certification. So I hope that really encourages more people to become a judge, as it's a lot more accessible. So I think CBTF has done a wonderful thing in, navigating that and moving everything online. And I think the biggest thing for me, moving from an athlete to a judge, it's so hard because for me, it was just so important being able to recognize and reward what I was seeing on the competition floor, because all the hard work and all of the time and money that is being spent into these routines. So for me, it was just really making sure that I knew the role models so that I could really make sure that I was rewarding these routines appropriately. Because, as an athlete, a 4.2 and a 4.7, that is huge, right? Or, a fifth place to a ninth place, like that is huge for an athlete. Versus, sometimes it's like, okay, just get your, top 5 going to finals. Well, yes, it's, you want to get your right top 5, but, it's also really important. Those other kids in the category, they're fighting tooth and nail for those spots too. So, and I think going into judging, I really had no idea how the judging system worked. Like, I just thought the judges, came up with the magic number in their head and that was the score. And I really had no idea how much work went in on their part to really memorize the role models and establishing the different ranges. And that was really cool, just learning what went into judging, and gave me a lot of respect for, all the judges that I had growing up.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. So what's your funniest or wackiest judging memory?
Okay, this was hard too. You asked some really good questions. I think the funniest one was Xavier from France. probably lots of you know him. I only really knew him as someone that had judged me. I never really had seen video of him before when he was younger and when he was a competitor. So Xavier is bald as we know him now, but I had a friend, Susan from Australia. She was like, oh, like, have you ever seen video of Xavier, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And she had told me that he had really long hair when he was younger. So I just remember bugging him in the judging room about, oh, Xavier, I saw a video of you, you know, your hair was almost as long as mine. And he was just like mortified. He was like, what video? Who showed you the video? Like, so that was really just kind of funny being able to have that kind of banter with one of the other judges from a different country and be able to kind of connect that way over something silly.
That's nice.
And I think the other funny memory was in Croatia, Dale White was judging, and there was an athlete on a different lane that just, you know, cranked their baton and it went flying. And here's Dale just catches the baton in the middle of the routine he's judging, and this baton's coming from a different lane. Like, it was just hilarious. We were like, only Dale.
Only Dale. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Okay, so on top of wearing all these hats, you're engaged to Braden. How do you maintain balance in your home life?
So for me, it's really been about scheduling one day a week or maybe 2 days a week if I'm lucky, that I'm not scheduling anything work related. So I found that if I left my calendar open, you know, someone would say, oh, can I come in for a lesson? Or I'm sure I don't have anything going on that day. So I'm sure most coaches find themselves in this position where all of a sudden you're coaching 7 days a week. And I think I was able to identify that, you know, that wasn't healthy for me. And I wasn't my best self as a coach when I was working that much. So, you know, at first you kind of feel guilty saying no, but realizing that, you know, I was a better person, I was a better coach when I had that time, you know, for myself. And we like to do a lot of hiking. So, or we like to get outdoors a lot. So that really just for me meant actually scheduling time to do that. And even though, you know, I wasn't working that day, trying not to schedule anything on that day. And that's really been super helpful, is just not keeping that day open, but scheduling it as a day for myself or as a day for my family or for Braden and I to do something. So that's been really helpful.
Awesome. So, well, take us through what a day in the life of Jenna looks like.
So really, fortunately for my job, every day looks a little bit different, which is why I think I love what I do so much. If anyone knows me, I'm a little all over the place. I'm the kind of person that sometimes doesn't know what they're doing, but I just like to jump right in and do things. So, you know, in the morning, I like having slower mornings because that's my time. I like to have my coffee. I've become a huge coffee person. So that's really important to me, to take that time just to have a cup of coffee in the morning and just kind of slow down, set my intentions for the day. I love to-do lists. So usually it's, you know, what do I need to get done today for the studio? Is there any volunteer work that I need to get done? I'm also the technical chair for ABTA. So, you know, checking in with our ABTA office and seeing what's going on with our baton programs. So really fortunate that I have that time in the morning to do a lot of admin work and volunteer work. And then, you know, heading off to the studio in the afternoons. I teach a few morning classes, and then most evenings I teach from 2 till 9 or 3 till 8:30. Every day is a little bit different. So I really enjoy that aspect of, you know, having a bit of a set routine, but every day is a little bit different within those days, which I think I really thrive and do well with.
Yes, I think you do. With the ever-changing world of COVID, how have you had to adapt, say, with teaching or judging or sitting on the board?
Well, I mean, I think we all spend a lot more time on our computers than we ever have before, and that's a struggle in itself. You know, never had heard of Zoom a year and a half ago, but, you know, now it's really a part of our daily lives, and that's really been tough for everyone. And I think going into this third lockdown that we're having in Alberta, just recognizing that in my students, that there is some Zoom fatigue. And I found that, not that I was ever making my online classes mandatory, but through the second lockdown, I gave my students the option to press pause or continue on Zoom, because I found after the first lockdown, some of the kids were just burnt out. It became a fight with the parents to get the kids onto the Zoom class. Maybe they didn't have, the appropriate space. They had other siblings that were distracting them, and then it became a fight in the household. So just trying to navigate and understand what my students are going through and the challenges that they're facing with their schooling. And then also trying to keep, my business, moving and bringing in revenue, and how that might look a little different. So we did a lot of outdoor classes last summer and a lot of outdoor camps, which the kids actually really loved. And for once in my life, I actually got a bit of a tan because I was outside versus being in the gym all summer. So that was kind of nice. But, just trying to limit my screen time when I'm not teaching or judging or having meetings online has been really important too, because I think we're all feeling that burnout of just being in front of the screen a lot. And I think, so many great ideas that we heard on that meeting last night. The coaches get together in regards to just making things fun. And I think sometimes, I'm focusing on, okay, like what skill do we need to be working on, or what material should we be doing in this class? And I think it was kind of refreshing to hear last night that, you can have some fun, and it doesn't always have to be serious and, hard work. Like you can, I think the students need that too, just an opportunity to have some fun and, not see the same person in front of the screen all the time. So we had lots of guest instructors that taught some classes, and, the kids all follow those superstars on Instagram and TikTok. So for them to be able to connect with them in a way on Zoom and take some of their classes, I know was really special for them to, have their idol in front of the screen. So we always got lots of participation when it was Addie Bebo teaching, and when it was me teaching, it was okay, but.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. What would be your advice to anyone who has a full plate and has to wear many hats, especially now?
I think it's just really setting out priorities for your life. And like I said before, what is important to you, like you will make it a priority and you will make the time to do those things. And I think it's just really important that you know what you want to do and how you want to give back and what that looks like. And just being really intentional with your time and with your energy. I'm learning there's only so much of you to go around, and really important, I think, to recruit people that you see maybe are having an interest in baton, or may have an interest in volunteering, and kind of encourage them as well to kind of spread the load, and to get more people involved, maybe on the board or within coaching or what have you. So I think that's been what I've been trying to do more of, is delegate a little bit more, or trying to encourage more people to get involved in different capacities. And I think just, trying to juggle all of those things, it's, like I said, really important, and something that we're learning through this pandemic, just to really identify, what you need to do on a certain day and not be overwhelmed with everything else that's kind of going on. Just try and take each day one day at a time, and just feel really good about those little victories that we have right now and celebrate the little victories.
You're amazing, Jenna. And I can say that on behalf of all of us, that we think you're just such an awesome person inside and out.
I have a funny story about you, Kristen.
Me?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So, super cool. Like growing up, I always wanted to be on a world team. Like I did freestyle, I did pair, and like just always wanted to be on a world team. So I did team in 2010 with Kim Jensen, and then in 2012 with you and Leisha. Mm-hmm. And just such a fun experience, and one that I will always treasure. But I remember we were watching one day, and you were sitting in front of me, Kristen, and I'm notorious for having stinky feet. And I just remember you turned around to me and you said, like, can you please like go put some socks and running shoes on? Like your feet smell so bad. And I just remember kind of being like, oh, okay. yeah, okay, I'll, no problems. Like, it was just so funny because like, you're so sweet. And, for you to turn around and say that, I was like, okay, that's kind of embarrassing, but like, yeah, it's probably true. You're right. I do.
I'm so sorry.
No,
That's
I
so
think
funny.
it's hilarious. Like, I'll just never forget that being like, oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, so funny. Okay, so moving on to rapid fire questions. You don't know any of these questions ahead of time, so it's just to learn a little bit more about you. So who's your hero?
Oh, that's so hard. I would say probably my mom. And I know that's kind of really cheesy, but she's just like been there like through the thick of everything. And she's always my first phone call if there's something wrong. And she's always just so positive about every situation. And I'm just so fortunate to have her in my life and that she's, sacrifice. I've said that so many times, but I just, I think all Baton parents are so special. They're a different breed of parents, like they're
Yep.
just willing to do so much for their kids. And, for her, she really never had the chance to be involved in sports when she was younger. So she really wanted to make sure that I had that in my life. And anything that I've done, she's, at every recital, working and, anytime I need a volunteer, she's always there. And that's just really special to me that, she never says no to me, which, I can't imagine, as a parent, like, just is crazy, like for her, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be where I am in my life without her. And she's just really special.
Awesome. We love April. She's
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So the next ones are one-word answers, if you can. If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Ooh, probably two answers. I'd probably live in the mountains. We love the mountain lifestyle. Or maybe Italy. I mean, I fell in love with Italy. My first trip there was 2006, and I've been blessed to have a few chances to go back and just fell in love with like the culture and like the food and the climate and the history. I took a few Greek and Roman history classes in university actually, and just found it so fascinating. So I think that part of the world is just so beautiful.
I agree. What's your biggest fear?
These are good questions. My biggest fear used to be being in a plane crash, but that's not really relevant these days because no one's really flying. I think my biggest fear is probably just losing those close to me
Mm-hmm.
and trying to navigate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. What makes you angry?
I think the mistreatment of others. I always tell my students, like, be kind. You never know what someone's going through. And I see just a lot of people going through things that are really unfair. And that just makes me really upset. And, especially nowadays with social media, there's so much negativity and so much bullying. And I think just anytime I see someone not being kind to someone else or giving them the grace that they deserve is, just so sad, especially you never know what someone's going through. And I think that's just always really important to remember is, to be kind.
For sure. 100%. Favorite book?
I'm a huge Josh Grisham book snob. So I love all of his books.
Cool.
Yeah.
Last movie you watched?
Oh, the last movie I watched was on Amazon Prime, and it was a Tom Clancy movie with Michael B. Jordan. So, I mean, anything with Michael B. Jordan's going to be good.
I agree. What did you want to be when you were little?
I always wanted to work with athletes. I just didn't know in what capacity. So when I went to school for kinesiology, I thought about doing physio. I thought about doing chiropractic. I thought about doing, lots of kind of different things within the realm of working with athletes. And as I was going through university, I was, teaching dance and coaching a little bit. And my mom always said to me, like, you should come back to Olds and start a baton and dance studio. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, there's no way I would ever do that. And I mean, look where I am now. So your mom always knows best.
Yep, for sure. Favorite board game?
Sequence.
Oh.
Yeah. such a good board game. So it's all about like strategy, and Braden got it for me for Christmas a couple of years ago, and we love playing Sequence.
Cool. Would you rather ride a bike, ride a horse, or drive a car?
Ooh, so actually my cousins are all horseback riders. They did, equestrian and Western and everything else. So I always had a lot of horses in my life. My grandparents had a farm in Saskatchewan. And even though we didn't really get to see them very often, I was always like really, not jealous, but, I always wanted the chance to go horseback riding like my cousins. So and my fiance Braden, he's a mountain biker, and he took me mountain biking once, and that was enough. So I think probably not a bike.
What would you sing at a karaoke night?
I would sing, oh my gosh. I like to think I'm a good singer, but probably anything Britney Spears. She's honestly probably one of my biggest idols. I've always loved her music and her as a person. And I got to go to one of her concerts in Vegas, and she's just like amazing. So I always tell my students, like, when I grow up, I want to be Britney Spears.
Stephen, let's hear it for Britney.
Oh gosh, you do not want to hear it. I always tell my students there's a reason why I teach dance, because I cannot sing.
Okay, so if let's see. If you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza, hands down. Real authentic Italian pizza.
Yummy. And let's see. What would you rather do? Wash dishes, mow the lawn, clean the bathroom, or vacuum the house?
Ooh, I love chores. I love cleaning. I would do all of them.
That I didn't know about you.
I love cleaning, so probably not mow the lawn.
Stephen, come to my house. That's awesome. All right, well, that ends our rapid fire. We're going to open it up to the audience now. Just feel free to put your hand up or put a question in the chat. We'll answer them in order that we get them. And yeah, so thank you, Jenna, for being a good sport and for those crazy questions. Alicia has her hand up.
I'm always going to have a question. Thank you so much, Jenna. Part of me, while you're on team, I know your nickname on our team was Punzi, short for Rapunzel. Short for Rapunzel because you always had the long hair, and I never understood how you practiced in a ponytail ever. But you always did, and you did everything, so it didn't really matter. And that video of you doing a toss cartwheel, I think I was laughing out loud.
That's why I said, like, looking back on that, I'm like, wow, like Miss Run was a saint for putting up with me, and like she saw potential in me. Well, maybe she didn't. Maybe it just, I was coming to the lessons and I was the one kid who would take private lessons or something. But even my parents, I'm like, you drove me like an hour one way so I could practice. Like, it's just comical. Like, wow, it's so humbling. Like, now I look at my students and I'm like, you never know, because
you never know.
Yeah.
It's the dropping the toss cartwheel, the cartwheeling back for me. Like, left the baton on the floor and just cartwheeled back to your position. I love that. That's great. Thanks so much for sharing everything. So I have two quick questions. I guess the first one is just, what's your biggest lesson in terms of opening your own studio? I know that it's a big leap, I think, for a lot of people, especially people who maybe love baton or think of making a career out of coaching or teaching dance. So what do you think was your biggest lesson in terms of opening your studio? And I'll ask my other question after.
I think my biggest lesson was just realizing that I really needed to connect personally with my clientele. I think I've created a lot of trust within the parents at my studio and myself. And I think that's gone a long way through this last year with, parents, having the choice not to send their kids to activities, but they trust that, I'm going to have their best interests at heart, and I'm going to provide an environment for them that is, safe and that they're going to be able to thrive in. And I think just creating really trusting relationships with my athletes and with their parents and getting to know them on a personal level. And I think so many youth are struggling right now, and also just letting people know that, you know, not only am I there to be your dance teacher or your baton coach, but, you know, I really care about these kids and where they're going in their lives and, you know, how they're doing mentally and physically. And I just think that's really important, you know, and I think I had that in my relationships with my coaches and teachers as well. Like they were, you know, not just there for me in the gym, but they were always, you know, there for me outside of the gym as well. So I think with the parents seeing that relationship, they have a lot more trust in me, which is really important.
Perfect. That's great. And then my second really quick question is just about coaching internationally. Kristen spoke to your humility, and that's definitely definitely something that we valued and so much when you're on team, and your level-headedness is so important. But in terms of coaching internationally, I know you coach some students, student in Australia for sure. You might have others, I'm not sure, but I'm just wondering how that connection started, and how you sort of maintain those international connections, I guess, in terms of not only coaching, but also doing clinics and stuff like that. So thanks, I'll stop there, but thanks so much. So proud of you. Awesome.
Yeah. So I competed at International Cup in Australia in 2009, and I was going to stay and travel after a little bit. And Sandra Elliott, who was my ballet teacher at the time, she was actually the one that said, you know, if you're in Australia, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I don't really know. She's like, well, why don't you like get involved with Baton and, you know, try and teach and make some money down there. So I had met Jane Pryor and her student Anastasia at Worlds a couple of years previously. So, you know, we're really fortunate with technology, sent Anastasia a Facebook message. She connected me with Jane. And, you know, Jane's a police officer down there. I told her where I was going to be staying in a hostel. And she was like, I don't think so. That's like stranger danger. Like, this is not happening. You're going to be coming and staying at my house because, you know, that is not a safe area of Sydney. It was like King's Cross or something. So anyways, she just opened up her doors to me. And I mean, fast forward, you know, 10 or 12 years later, you know, she's my best friend and we've created a really meaningful relationship. And, you know, she's also had the trust in me to work with her athletes, which I think is really special too. And then, you know, from there, I've been able to connect with other coaches, which has been really great. And then in 2018, I think it was, Christine Bell invited me to teach one of her NBTA camps in France, which probably was, I think, one of my most memorable experiences in my entire life, to see there was 160 baton twirlers. And we stayed in this dorm. The dorms were horrible. They were like prison cells. We all ate at the cafeteria. We were in the gym 12 hours a day. And it was just one of the most incredible experiences of my life to just have the opportunity to be there with like some really big wigs. And, you know, I just felt like I was this, you know, little fish in this big pond, and it was just so cool. And I wish that I spoke French fluently. I took some in high school, but I literally know maybe 10 French words. And I literally just spoke like 10 French words all day because most of the kids like did not speak English. So it was a lot of demonstrating and it was just so cool. So I think going back to kind of people are always watching, you know, I was recommended to Christine from someone else that had watched me coach and, you know, be at a clinic before. And I just think that's really important too. It's one of those things where if you do the work and if you create those connections, then those opportunities are going to come to you.
Awesome. I have a question here in the chat from Christina, actually 2 questions, and then we'll get to Stephen after that. Christina has asked, what was your favorite freestyle?
My favorite freestyle was Kill Bill for sure. That was just like such a memorable freestyle. And I think it really suited my more athletic style of twirling, and just like the costuming, the music, like that was so brilliant on Miss Loren's part. And I remember she kind of teased me with it the year before, and then was like, no, you have to wait 1 more year. And that was just so hard. So I just remember I was like so ready. I'm like, Kate, let's do it. This is my year, like Kill Bill, this is it. Yeah, so that was just such a special freestyle. And I mean, one of my most memorable ones for sure. So that's the one that people always remember, the yellow costume. It was just so different and such a fun concept.
Love that routine. She has another question. What is your favorite event to coach and your favorite event to judge, and why?
Probably my favorite events to coach and judge are both, the medleys and the solo dances and the teams. I really love, the marriage of baton and dance coming together and, kind of taking the two backgrounds that I've been involved with so much in my life and combining them and, getting to see the kids put their own creative spin on their programming and their freestyles, or, the coaches' creative spin, and just seeing the different music and different costuming and different choreography. We're so lucky in Canada to have so many incredible choreographers and so many creative coaches that, we get to see a lot of really amazing things in, the freestyle and pairs and teams. So those are definitely my favorite events to judge.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Christina, for your question. Stephen, you're up.
Hello. Okay, this kind of might be a bit of a difficult question. So what are your thoughts on, with Worlds and International Cup and everything being postponed now for a couple of years, the quality of baton at the international level or even at the Canadian level when we do resume back into regular competition?
Yeah, that definitely is really interesting. And I think that's something that has been discussed recently. No one really knows if we're going to be having a World Championships in 2022. And I can only imagine how difficult that must be for the athletes, not having, really a viable date that they potentially might be competing. And I've heard kind of lots of rumblings from, different countries of, the quality of the athletes and kind of the commitment and dedication of the athletes. And, I heard something from Italy that it looks like those kids never missed a day in the gym. So obviously they're doing something right over there, or, so I think it's going to be really amazing to see what we, do end up seeing when we are able to compete again. And I think that, once the kids do get that firm, date that they will be able to compete and travel again, I think that's just going to be such a big fire lit underneath them. And I don't think that, we're going to see a decline in quality necessarily in the elite level athletes, because I think that, they still have that fire burning. And I don't know, it's so hard to say. Like, I can't imagine myself as an athlete, like what my thoughts would be or where I would be in my training. Like, it's so hard at that age too, when you're going through different things in your life. And yeah, that's a good question.
My question is, wondering if you have advice, having been someone who started not in a group or with a club so much as more of an individual, and you did train a lot on your own and had to sort of set your own goals, and given what some of the kids are going through, we're in Ontario, we can appreciate what you're going through in Alberta with lockdown number 3. A lot of these kids are spending a lot of time alone right now and having to motivate themselves, when they're not in the gym with their buddies, their teammates, their club, what experiences maybe you could share, or things that worked for you, or do you have any advice, for some of these kids that are having to do it a little differently right now?
Again, I'll go back to my mom. Like, she was really my accountability partner. Yeah. I think that's so important that the kids have the accountability in their lives, and that's hard when it's a mom. Like, that relationship is really, really difficult.
I know a little about that.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I think something that I found helpful with my students a little bit is watching YouTube videos. I think sometimes you feel so far removed from it because you're not seeing others around you. You're not at competition. So even myself, I found, like, when I lose motivation as like a coach or, a dance teacher, I find what do? You go online because there's nothing else to do. So I found that I've been watching like a lot more routines on YouTube and getting inspiration. And I've been doing like a lot of readings, about athletes and their stories. and their journey, and knowing that you are alone, but you're not alone. A lot of people have gone through similar circumstances, and just knowing that this is only a temporary situation, we hope. And I think that's just the most difficult thing for sure the kids are navigating, is just how do you stay motivated and how do you keep yourself accountable. And maybe it's not your coach or the parent that's the accountability partner, but maybe it's someone within their club, or having someone younger and someone older kind of be accountability partners, pen pal online or something. Or a big thing Loren did with us was we always had a baton book, and there was always certain thresholds that we had to meet, or certain I found when I went to the gym and I just had an hour to practice, like I was all over the place. So I think just really setting the intention for your practice and what you want to accomplish, and not stepping away from that practice until you've accomplished what you've set out. So, and I think again, rewards. I mean, a lot of us are, but I was a kid that give me a Jolly Rancher and I'll do that double illusion for you. So I mean, obviously now it's a lot harder. My students, they catch their flat one spin and they're like, well, what do I get? I catch my one spin, like I'm going to be broke, like talking about the Starbucks cards and, different motivation for these kids. But yeah, I think, the accountability partners, and then just watching YouTube and trying to surround yourself a little bit more in the sport, or going back and watching those videos of when you were younger and seeing how far you've come. I know as from my athletes, I'm not getting anywhere, like, feeling kind of stuck. Okay, well, let's see where you were 2 years ago. And they're like, oh, wow, like, I've really come a long way. So I think those things have been helpful.
It's a good idea. It's a nice idea. Yeah. And can I ask, in your book, was it like a trick list? Like, how we'll sometimes do trick lists and maybe you get a sticker or a check mark or something. Did you do that, or more just lay out your practice when you were practicing on your own?
Yeah, from Miss Loren, it was always like a trick list, roll sections, like no drop compulsory sets. We always played this like 3-2-1-0 game where you had to get like 3 run-throughs with 3 drops or something, or I can't even remember. I mean, it was a little torturous at the time, and I'm a little traumatized. But, they were good because she was so good about creating these games. And for me, I wanted the reward of succeeding in that game. So, if there was no carrot at the end of the stick, I wasn't going to do anything. So she was really good about, creating that carrot and motivating us that way.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah.
Great questions, Jen. Thanks. Ron would like to say something. So hi, Ron.
Hi, Jenna.
Hey,
I
Ron.
haven't got a question for you, but I just want to thank you for all the things that you do for our baton organizations. You always have done everything wonderful, provincially, nationally, internationally, world. Thank you very much.
Well, Ron, I mean, you're a big inspiration to me too. So incredible to see, your dedication throughout your lifetime to the sport. So we're lucky to have people like you to kind of follow in your footsteps.
Thank you. You're good friends.
I want to thank Jenna so much for joining us tonight. You are truly an inspiration. The fact that you manage all these things all at once and still stay so kind and humble and amazing is just, very, very inspiring to all of us.
Thank you, guys.